Hi, since we didn't get through this on our last class period, I thought maybe the easiest way to do this would be, again, another video. Sorry you have to put up with me a little bit longer. Uh, One class got a little bit further than the other, so you might have to fast forward a little bit. But we're going to be using the notes that are on the back of your 5-2 Congressional Leadership. And we're going to talk about how lawmaking in the House of Representatives is unique to the House of Representatives. As we discussed last time we were in class, that lawmaking in the House of Representatives is really they become experts in their field. And so if you sit on the Agricultural Committee, you really understand how agriculture works and what they were thinking about laws in the past. And now, and we know that most of the jobs that they have done are done in committee. If you want to introduce a bill in the House of Representatives, you're going to drop it in the hopper. That was one of the cards that we had in that activity we did. A hopper just kind of looks like a suggestion box. A bill is just a fancy word for a law that's under consideration. When a bill goes into the hopper, then it goes to the Speaker of the House, and on the advice of the parliamentarian as well as the majority floor leader, they assign it to committee. Now, if they are in favor of the bill, they're going to try to figure out the best route for that bill to go in order to pass and become law. If they're not in favor of the bill, then of course they're going to choose the rockiest road and the rockiest journey that they could come up with. Only 10% of all bills ever get out of committee. So thinking about that 90% land there and they die. 10%, of the 20,000 bills means that 2,000 might get out of committee, but that still doesn't mean that they eventually become law. All right, so after the committee process, then in the House of Representatives, the bill is placed on one of 5 calendars. In the Senate, there are really only 2 calendars. And so, again, why does the House of Representatives have more calendars? Because it has more people. It is more about getting on the calendar than anything else, because they use the calendar as a way to kill a bill. Because if you aren't on a calendar, then you cannot be considered. There won't be any debate on it, there won't be any vote on it. So really, not getting on a calendar is a way for the House of Representatives to get rid of a bill. Whoops. Every bill that comes out of committee has to go through the Rules Committee. And this was, again, another card that you had. The Rules Committee is kind of a traffic cop of the House. It grants a rule and of how and when the bill will be considered. If the bill doesn't get a rule granted, it dies. The Rules Committee is one of the oldest and most important committees in the House, and it's made up of a lot of the chairpersons. We talked about the Rules Committee last week, Wednesday, because of the health care bill that was in front of the Rules Committee. And if you did not catch the news, they had a marathon session on Wednesday night, and the bill was postponed to vote on until Friday because of the way the Rules Committee operated. Everything in the House has to have a quorum to conduct business. That's 218 because that's 50% plus 1. But that goes to committees and that goes to everything. So if there are 12 people on the committee, 50% of that would be 6 plus 1 is 7 would be the quorum. Once it goes to the House floor for a vote, and then the Speaker would sign it, okay? And then it's off to the Senate, and there's another process that goes with that. So the House floor has 4 options of voting, as you guys know from your House Internet activity. There's a standing vote, a division of the House, which is everybody take a side, a voice vote, and then the roll call vote. The roll call vote has become more popular because then you could record how a person voted, and we always want to keep track of how our congressman did. Okay? The Congressional Record is the official minutes of the House. It has everything. Think of it as a stenographer that you see in the courtrooms where everybody's taking down every comment, every sneeze, and everything. That's the Congressional Record. Remember that is the responsibility of the clerk. Okay, the Congressional Journal is kind of a condensation of that. They're going to take some of those information and summarize it. The Congressional Record, though, is the official minutes. This is what is, kind of the legal and binding transcript of Congress. So let's look at what the day in the House would begin like. It usually starts at 10 a.m., and yes, it starts with prayer. There is an official chaplain, and that rotates, and it's an honorary position. They've had every kind of chaplain that there is, Christian chaplains, Catholic priests, Episcopalians, Hindu Buddhist priests, Muslim imams. They've had every denomination represented there, okay? Then they receive any recent messages from either the President or the Senate. I believe when I looked recently, there hasn't been any, but it's where the President kind of tries to communicate with the legislative branch. Remember, President Trump can't just walk on the House floor. That violates the separation of the three branches. He can only go to the House of Representatives or the Senate if they are invited, just like a congressman or a senator can't just go to the White House unless he's invited. So they communicate through messages, okay? They have to, just like any other meeting, they have to approve the journal. I think that this should say the record. They have to approve the record from the day before, so if there has been anything that is different than what happened, then they have to correct that. They do recite the Pledge of Allegiance. And there's where those 1-minute speeches are next. So there's another card. 1-minute speeches is that everybody in the House has the opportunity to stand up for 1 minute and talk about anything they want. They can talk about the weather if they want to, or they can talk about the issues that are in front of it. If they choose not to use their 1-minute speeches, they can slough their time off to another congressman. So let's say that I decide that I'm not going to use my minute, and I say I will give it to the Honorable Connor Groan. Now Connor has 2 minutes, and let's say everybody kind of sloughs their time off to Connor, and he gets to use a lot of time. We also can say, and they also sometimes just put the time back in, saying I forfeit my last 40 seconds or whatever. Okay. In the House of Representatives, the other rule is that they have to be germane. Germane simply means that they have to be on topic. So when they're doing the 1-minute speeches is an exception. They can talk about anything they want. But during debate on the House floor, they cannot deviate from what it is they're talking about. So if the debate on the floor is about the health care bill, they have to talk about the health care bill. They cannot talk about the recent bombing in London. They have to remain germane. Now, when you guys did your notes over the Senate, you know that the Senate does not have the same limitations. In the Senate, they can talk about anything that they want. Okay? They could end up voting next. And those are the different kinds of votings. And committee meetings are taking place through all of this. Okay? What is really ironic is that there's tons of things going on at the same time. So while they're voting on the House, an agricultural committee could be meeting in a different building. And so what a congressman has to do is he has to choose where is he going to be. Is there a House floor vote that is really important for him to be there? Because his staff cannot vote for him. His staff can sit in on the meetings for him at the committee, but they cannot vote for them. They cannot talk on his behalf. He basically is a body there to represent them. All right, so that should have finished our notes here. What we're going to ask that you do now is that the substitute is going to give you a comparison of a Venn diagram. And that Venn diagram is, of course, remember a Venn diagram is 2 circles that interchange. I think I just made that one way too big. Okay. Let's see if I can make it a little bit smaller here. One of the circles is going to represent the House of Representatives, and the other is going to represent the Senate. Obviously, where they overlap is where you're going to put the things down that are both. Now, if you choose not to write in the circles, that's fine. You can just put in your on your worksheet, you can just put House, Senate, or both, if you find that will be helpful to you. I don't really care whether or not you write into the circles. Sometimes it's helpful to write into the circles because, of course, it's accessing your brain and helping you kind of keep everything straight. On Wednesday, just to kind of give you a heads up, on Wednesday, we are going to have a quiz over House, Senate, and both. What makes the House unique? What makes the Senate unique? And so just so that you're a little bit prepared for that. All right, I look forward to seeing you guys, and we will talk to you soon.